I was so unwilling to believe that this was actually going to happen. But I walked up to my house. Kids were at the playground, and I said, "You know what? Daddy's got to sit down and watch Shedeur Sanders." And I thought, okay, I'll be out of here and I'll be out of here in 11 minutes, right? Because I was going to write about it. I said he's going to have 2 series. He's the fifth string quarterback of the Browns. He's going to have 2 series. Stefanski's going to yank him, and then it's going to be the Snoop Huntley show. Daddy's going to be back down at the playground in no time. An hour and a half later, I'm sitting there completely mesmerized. I mean, this kid cooked the daylights out of the Carolina Panthers, which leads us to this, I don't know, this weird place where, and even I'm there, I was crushing people, like poor Tony Grossi, who I love, asking Shedeur Sanders about first team QB reps. I'm like, what? First team QB reps? Now I'm on the complete other side of this, where I'm like, is this guy going to start? Maybe not the season opener, but like by week 4, 5, or 6. So, Tyler, I'll put it to you. Are you calling BS that Shedeur Sanders is a starting NFL quarterback?
I am not going to call BS. I don't think it's week 1. I don't think it's September, right? I think in a dream scenario, the Cleveland Browns start Shedeur Sanders, when the season is lost, right? Like 3-4 games to go. But I don't know. I mean, it's not a perfect comparison, but we're kind of reaching Tim Tebow levels of, bonanza here. It's
Right.
It's not a circus, but there is a real buzz around Shedeur Sanders. People gravitate toward him. I mean, to see number 12 Brown jerseys at a Carolina Panthers game on the road in a preseason game is kind of absurd. Like, my point being, like, the fan push to start Shedeur Sanders, it might kind of flirt with Tebow levels that we saw early on there in 2011, where they're not going to give in to public pressure, but this is a Cleveland Browns team that they got to kind of make nice with their fan base to an extent, don't they, Conor? Like, it's been kind of rough there for the Browns through the Deshaun Watson trade and pissing off the people that you need to fill your current stadium and maybe a future stadium. And this would be kind of chum in the water. Like, here you go. Let's play Shedeur. That's what you guys want. That's got to play a part to some extent here.
I think so too. And you bring up a great point, because initially my reaction, and after the game, he went up to Tony Grossi and he put his arm around him and he was saying, "Oh, you never say anything nice about me. You never say anything nice about me." And in my head, I'm thinking, you just killed all the goodwill that you built up over the course of this start. But as you say that, my mind is changing, because you're right. Deshaun Watson was so unapproachable. He was so hard to root for. And like it or not, Shedeur Sanders has a charisma that could carry a team through a season. Deion Sanders is one of those guys that is incapable of being embarrassed. I think Shedeur is similar in that way. And if you're the Browns, like, you just got to get through 2025. Like, it's one of those days, like when your kids are up all night, like, I just got to make it to 10 o'clock. They got to get through 2025 while this roster turns over and make sure that the important parts kind of stay around. And part of me's thinking, like, this guy might legitimately have what it takes to at least get them through a season. And if he's the future, great. If it was a fun year where he just makes us forget about all of our problems for a little while, that's worth a 5th-round pick, is it not?
I think that's where I'm at too, because the red flags are very real with Shedeur Sanders. And I mean, you're talking to coaches more than myself, but I was talking to one who sat in on one of those combine interviews. You've got the formal interviews, and then you've got the train station that's informal. And he said it was awful. Like, they're talking to Shedeur Sanders. He's not paying attention. The quarterback's coach is just asking him questions, trying to engage him. And, people are walking by and he's dapping people up. And he's just, he doesn't think this team's going to draft him. So he doesn't care. At that point, he thinks he's a top 10 pick. And no way this team's going to draft me. Like, that stuff is real. Like, the clashing with Brian Dable and the New York Giants interviews, that stuff is real. And could it manifest to the field when you have to work? You have to put in hours away from the facility. I don't know what you're going to get out of Shedeur Sanders in terms of being a pro, all of that. I will say this, though. Like, there are some people who I really respect when it comes to grading the quarterback position and analyzing it. One of them that comes to mind, David Yost. He coached Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, Chase Daniel, Brad Smith, a ton of those Missouri guys. I mean, he's still coaching in college football too. Very critical eye at quarterback. He loves him. I mean, he said that this kid
Really?
is so unbelievably accurate and had a bad line and a bad defense and just found a way to make it work, win games, and survive down to down and lead. They're scoring 30 points a game, 30, 40 points a game. Look, there's limitations physically. There's a reason he didn't run a 40. Like me or you might give him a run for his money in our prime. And I'm not even exaggerating. I think scouts thought he'd run like a 4.8 or a 4.9. That stuff is real too. But there's something about him, man. Like, he has done it at every level. People gravitate toward him. And if you're the Cleveland Browns and you want to be somewhat fun this year when you maybe have been the least fun team the last few years, I think it happens. I don't know when. I think they'd like to push it off as far as they can. They don't want to rush him out there. But I think it's inevitable that Shedeur Sanders is the Cleveland Browns starter this season.
This year, the MMQB is playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too. Whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league, guys, for me, any time that I go to open up a new league with friends, any time that I'm playing on Sunday, I am on Yahoo Fantasy. It's got all the best updates. It's got the fastest notifications for when you get a touchdown, when you get a score. It's the absolute best. And to celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's only one left standing. And with the season around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play in head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/MMQB. That's yahoofantasy.com/MMQB. Listen to the names of the two leading wide receivers that Shedeur Sanders had against the Panthers, in addition to not having any of his starting interior offensive line. Here's his two leading wide receivers. Someone named Sal Cannella and someone named Luke Flourier, who's not on the roster anymore. It sounds like two bodyguards for the Gambino crime family that were just out there catching passes. But
one's a UFL tight end, right? Sal Cannella. I think he was a solid UFL tight end.
But here's what's kind of gnawing at me, and I love that you brought up the flip side of this, right? Was that so we go on this roller coaster, and I think that's why it's important to do segments like this where I was convinced that Shedeur was not a good NFL quarterback, and that's based on everything that all the people that I'd talked to, and even going back to December into January, I had people I trusted that evaluate the position that are like, Jackson Dart's going to go before him. And I started writing that and everyone's like, oh my God, blah, 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 right? And so when that happens, you kind of dig in to your point of view, right? And I doubled down and you triple down, and then you feel right when the rest of the NFL kind of goes along with it and they don't take him. But then something like this happens, and then you're left with two choices. It's like, do you open your mind to the possibility that he might actually be good, or is this, Tyler, the Carolina Panthers defense? Is it a preseason game? And are a lot of the things that people said about him in the past, he's already maxed out physically, like he's not going to grow. There's no ceiling. When the pocket breaks down, he's a little bit of a disaster. He tends to drift and float, which we saw in that preseason game, but it didn't come back to bite him. Is this the case where now we can go down one of two roads where it's like, you believe, okay, I'm in, or I still might stand on my evaluation here, and I'm not going to let one preseason game send me into a positivity spiral?
I know, I'm right there with you. 100%, Conor, because you think of the preseason and I want to just mock it and meme it. I don't want to watch it, honestly. I mean, power to you, Conor, for watching that game. My brother's getting married. We were at a stag in Rochester at a Charles Wesley Godwin concert, and I'm not watching this game, but even then, to the Shedeur effect, I'm pulling out the phone. I want to see how he did. I couldn't wait to pull up the highlights, and I'm like, holy crap, did you look at this? And I think there is something to it. And it's, I'm thinking back to, was it 2012 when the Seattle Seahawks, they signed Matt Flynn. And hell, I covered those Packers teams in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. That last game against the Lions was electric. Matt Flynn threw 6 touchdowns. It's like,
That's
of course
right.
this guy's going to be the starter. They signed him, but what did they do also? They drafted Russell Wilson. So through the spring, Russell Wilson was the one showing up, first in the building, last to leave. Matt Flynn was just kind of being there when he had to be there. And so you wonder, oh, okay, is there something going on here? Maybe this third round pick could be a starter. And then you get into the games. I think Flynn was okay, but Russell Wilson looked really good, and they pulled the trigger. They named Russell Wilson the starter. I mean, you go back to Aaron Rodgers, his first 3 years. He had some rough preseason moments, but to your point, we tend to forget, these guys are going against second, third stringers. But Aaron made the point to me once, like, I'm playing with second, third stringers too.
Right.
It goes both ways. So with a little more talent, what could Shedeur look like? I think you add it all up, and he at least warrants a shot in real substantive football games. And it's just the perfect timing for the Cleveland Browns. You don't really have your franchise quarterback in-house that you're tethered to from a financial sense. They still have to pay out Watson. So this is like a perfect trial and error kind of season. If you're the Browns, you got a really good theory, studs. I mean, name a better edge rusher cornerback duo than Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward. The Jenkins stuff, that really throws a wrench into their plans. I feel like they really wanted to drag teams into a dark alley this year, try to beat the hell out of you, win 13-10. He was going to be a big part of that. Who knows where the Cleveland Browns go offensively? That running back in-house, if he's not there, which it's looking like. But anyways, it's a perfect year to play Shedeur Sanders if you're the Cleveland Browns. Why the hell not?
I agree. I mean, at least let's see him in a couple games. I mean, let's not start Joe Flacco for 15 games. And I love Joe, but I think we saw his limitations when in that Texans playoff game where that team just pinned their ears back and just blitzed him into oblivion. And God bless him. I think we would all want to feel this much purpose when we're nearing our age 40, but it's one of those things where he just can't move like that anymore, right? He just can't evade, and he's a little bit of a sitting duck back there.